Hello, friends. It's Katie back with another episode of my vlog and the return of the Cinema Club Sunday Roundup after taking last week off because of the insane heat wave. So, a little bit of catching up to do because I've got 2 weeks of movies to cover, but we also didn't watch as many movies in the last 2 weeks, partly because of the heat wave, because it was just too hot in our living room to watch stuff, and partly because the kids were like, hey, can we skip a movie today? Whatever. So, anyhow, let's dive right in. Today is the 4th of July, which here in America is Independence Day. And we have an Independence Day tradition here in our house of watching Jaws, everybody's favorite shark movie, right? I mean, there's a lot of shark movies that have come out since this one, but this is the king of all shark movies. It, of course, takes place over the 4th of July holiday weekend, which is why we watch it every year on the 4th of July. It's one of our family's favorite movies. It is a 10 out of 10, totally required viewing. We actually haven't watched it yet today. I'm recording this a little earlier in the day, but we are going to be watching it at about 4 o'clock this afternoon. So if you want to join us, please do. We absolutely love this film, and I think the 4th of July is just the perfect day to watch this movie. Speaking of perfect days to watch movies, yesterday was the perfect day to watch The Return of the Living Dead because it takes place on July 3rd. And so we watched that yesterday. So these two films together are our family tradition for the 4th of July holiday. And because they are our family tradition for the 4th of July holiday, I have already reviewed them on this vlog a year ago. So instead of reviewing them again today, I'm just going to say both of them are 10 out of 10, absolutely perfect, totally required viewing. Obviously, we're watching them once a year. We love them. But I'm going to go ahead and put a link down below to the review I did last year, so we don't have to sit through a second review of exactly the same movies, because guess what, guys? My opinion hasn't changed on these movies in the last year. But what did we watch that's new that I haven't reviewed yet? Well, the kids have been talking about watching John Wick for a while. So we decided to watch all 3 John Wick movies right in a row, not on the same day, but 3 nights in a row here at our cinema club. So John Wick is from 2014. John Wick Chapter 2 came out in 2017. And John Wick Chapter 3, which is also called Parabellum, which is so stupid, but it kind of sounds like a James Bond title. So okay. That one's from 2019. All 3 directed by Chad Stahelski, who apparently worked with Keanu Reeves on the stunts for The Matrix. That's actually how they met and how they started working together. And it shows. All 3 of these films are very, very action, battle, stunt, sequence heavy. And they don't read exactly like The Matrix does, but you definitely feel like you're watching the child of The Matrix, if you will, when you watch the John Wick films. To start out with, the beginning of the first movie opens up. We meet John Wick. His wife has recently died. He's grieving her loss. And she, sort of from beyond the grave, has arranged to give him a puppy so that he has something, to fill the void of his missing wife. And so he gets a new puppy, and he's like, starting to bond with the puppy, whatever. And he has a run-in with some Russian gangsters at a gas station who want to buy his car, which is a really sick, amazing vintage Mustang. And of course, he won't sell the car to them. And later that day, they break into his house. They're there to steal the car. They also kill the dog. Oh, God. And so, of course, John Wick is going to come after them. He's got this, triumvirate, if you will, of vengeance issues. The dog is kind of double because it's the last thing his dead wife gave him. And then, of course, the car. And he basically sets out to go get these guys that killed his dog and stole his car. We get a great scene where he proceeds to dig up a entire arsenal of weapons and ammo that are hidden like under the concrete floor in his garage, at which point it's revealed that he is an ex-hitman who basically cleaned up and left the hitman life behind when he fell in love with his wife, and totally gave that up and was just, John Q, nice guy, I guess, while she was alive. And then these gangsters coming after him and killing his dog and stealing his car is enough for him to go back into hitman mode and go after everybody. And it turns out that John Wick isn't just a hitman, he's like the best, most badass, most unbelievable hitman like of all time ever. So what you get is this very fun, very, you feel like you're on the side of right because he's going out and getting vengeance. These guys killed his dog. I mean, can you believe it? How low can you be as a criminal? So you feel completely justified in riding along with John Wick and just killing everybody. The second and third movies just kind of continue the same themes of the first movie, but what they reveal to us is more of the organized crime, hitman, kind of assassin world that John Wick operates in, which is really cool. There's like a hotel called the Continental Hotel that's just like a hotel for criminals to come stay at and get like kitted out and, buy the best weapons and get he gets like a bulletproof Kevlar suit made at one point, which is totally cool. So that whole world gets more built and developed as the movies go on. It's revealed that there's this like some kind of like central assassin switchboard type of place with these like retro Betty ladies that are, talking on the phones and putting like the latest hits up on the big board so that all of the assassins who are linked into this network get, a notification on their cell phone as soon as there's like a new contract out there that they can go after. So that's really fun. The whole world of the organized underground crime world as presented within the John Wick universe is great. It's also visually great. It's taking from film noir, it's taking from Hong Kong action cinema, it's taking from spaghetti westerns. There's just a lot going on, and the director of photography do a great job with again, kind of like setting the scene, and the way that colors are used and the way that things are stylized within the film are really cool. The one piece of stylization that I absolutely could not stand is anytime people are speaking in another language and there's subtitles, they're these stylized subtitles. And instead of being like straight across the bottom of the screen where you'd like them to be, they're like over here and down here. And like, if a word needs emphasis, it's like in blue or red instead of being in white. And it's just completely distracting from the movie. I think they were going for like a comic book thing with that, but it really doesn't work. And it got to the point where every time someone spoke and in a foreign language and there were subtitles on screen, the kids were reacting like, oh God, oh, not again. And it just became this kind of in-joke while we were watching the movie. I would say the other thing that the other criticism I have about the movies are, they're obviously it's an action thriller type of movies where the whole thing is driven by the action sequences, but they feel like they go on for too long. I felt like almost every action sequence in all three of these movies was about 20% longer than it needed to be, and if they had just trimmed it and tightened it up a little bit more, I feel like there's the scenes have like 80% great battles and fights and car maneuvers and whatever, and then like 20% is just kind of like filler that's padding it. And so I would rather have a tighter, shorter action sequence that didn't have any sort of fluff to it, and just moves me straight into the next piece. But other than the kind of overly long action sequences and then those bad stylized subtitles, all three of them are great, totally worth watching. We had a ton of fun. At some points, John Wick becomes kind of a caricature of a person where you're just like, how many times can he get hit by a car or thrown down by a guy and still like get up and be just ready to go? But he is kind of a cartoon character within the thing. I mean, he's killing so many people. It's, I actually looked it up. He's like the third most deadly character in the history of movies, with the first being Rambo. He's got the highest kill count of anybody. And then the second is James Bond. And then John Wick is number 3. So he kills a lot of people in these movies. Very easily also. The kids also pointed out, like, wow, none of these bad guys have guns that can like shoot straight on the first shot. Wow, they always miss him. That's amazing. But of course, he's the protagonist and you want him to make it through the film and on to the next one. So we had a ton of fun watching all those John Wick movies, and we're totally looking forward to the next one, which is supposed to be filming this year and coming out next year unless they have some kind of production delay. So John Wick, 1, 2, and 3. We loved them over here. We're definitely going to watch the next one. Let's see. We also watched Village of the Damned, not the remake by John Carpenter, but the 1960 original directed by Wolf Rilla. This is a great, really creepy sci-fi horror movie. There's a town and there's something mysterious happens and everyone in the town blacks out for like 4 hours. It's kind of a Sleeping Beauty-esque thing at the beginning of the movie. And then a bunch of the women in the town all realize that they're pregnant at the same time. And because the film came out in 1960, they never actually say, these women are pregnant. It's all done with like euphemistic speech, like, oh, I have good news for you, or, oh, her condition, or whatnot. And so at one point, after about 10 minutes of this euphemism driven speech, I finally turned to the kids and said, they mean she's pregnant. You guys get that, right? So anyhow, a bunch of women fall pregnant at the same time, and they all have these bizarre accelerated pregnancies where it's like, they give birth only after, I think, 5 months instead of 9. And then after the babies are born, they're growing really, really fast. And so by the time they're like 3 years old, chronological age, they look like they're like 10. And they're all born on the same day. They all have like albino blonde hair and creepy eyes and creepy fingernails. And they all hang out together in a little pack, and they act like weird, like robot people with no emotions. And they are creeping out everyone in the town, including their own parents, and starting to develop what looks like some telepathic and mind control abilities as well. And I'm going to leave you hanging right there because I'm getting a little too close to the end of the narrative, but I want to kind of spell it out a little bit because it's really cool, creepy children horror. And that's like a whole little genre unto itself. And I feel like, I don't know if Village of the Damned is the first one, but it's one of the earliest that I can think of that where the thing that you're supposed to be afraid of in the film is children, which is very interesting to me. Obviously, we, normally portray children as being very innocent and good. And it's, only after they've been kind of, marred by society that they come out bad or whatever is sort of the way that people think about children. So having children who from birth are these like foreign creatures that are creeping everyone out in the town and causing a lot of, there's mysterious things happening and people aren't sure if it's the kids that are doing it or not. Very effective in this film. I think it's a very strong movie. We enjoyed watching it a lot. Like I said, I had to explain all the euphemisms for pregnancy, but other than that, the kids were totally just with it. It doesn't have too slow of a pace. I know sometimes that's a concern with an older film, but it kept everyone's attention right along the whole way, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. Highly recommended. We might check out the remake. I'm conflicted. I know it's not that good, but it is directed by John Carpenter, who's one of my favorite directors. And so I might show that one to the kids, maybe not next week, maybe like the week after, just to do a little compare contrast, because we do like to look at remakes sometimes just to see, right, wrong, what's your opinion? But the original Village of the Damned, 1960, fantastic film. Totally recommended. This week we also watched Elysium from 2013, directed by Neil Blomkamp, who of course did District 9. This one is the movie starring Matt Damon, where it takes place in the future. It's like 2150, I think, and Earth is overcrowded and just completely impoverished because all of the rich people have gone off planet and taken themselves to this place called Elysium, which is like a one of those like wheel-shaped space stations that's in Earth orbit, and they have all the great tech and all the nice life, and everybody on Earth is like kind of dusty and poor and falling apart, or dying of various diseases that they can't cure. Meanwhile, up in Elysium, they have these things called med bays that are just like you put an ill or sick person or someone with a broken bone or whatever into it, and it just sort of like scans them and fixes them, and they're automatically great again. So the basic plot here is that Matt Damon plays a guy who's down on Earth, and he's working at a factory, and there is a accident, and he gets exposed to a lethal dose of radiation and is given basically 5 days to live. And so he figures out if he can get to Elysium and get into one of those med bays, he can cure himself and continue to have a life. But of course, the rich people power structure up on Elysium is completely, tuned towards stopping any of the rabble from Earth from getting up there. So he's got to hire a human smuggler and weasel his way past a bunch of situations to try and get to Elysium. And I won't say more about the plot of that one. We liked it a lot. It was very visually well done. It has a bunch of computer special effects in it, but they didn't like stand out like, oh, hi, I'm from a computer to me. So that's always a good thing. The style of the future envisioned, I felt like was pretty accurate. The like crappy time everyone was having on Earth looked like the logical extension of like the out of control homeless camps on the street here in Portland. And I've always liked that kind of, it's like the rotating wheel space station where gravity is pressing outwards. Like in 2001. I've always liked that design for a space station, and I feel like they do it really well in Elysium. There were some parts where the computer graphics became obvious, but like I said, not overwhelmingly so. And it's an interesting vision of the future, which I feel like is pretty correct. I'm a little negative about the future, but yeah, so if you like dystopian future science fiction, if you liked District 9, you'll probably dig Elysium. We thought it was pretty great. We were well impressed with it. And the other movie that we watched this week was The People Under the Stairs from 1991, written and directed by Wes Craven. This one is an interesting one because it is sort of like, I don't know if I want to say a lesser known, but it's like, when people think of Wes Craven, they're like Nightmare on Elm Street, or they're like Scream, and I feel like People Under the Stairs was one that kind of like slipped in there and didn't have as much of an impact for people. But it came out in 1991, which when I was in high school and when I was in the business of cutting class on Friday afternoons and going to see movies. So I vividly remember seeing this on opening day when it came out, and how much I loved it and how funny I thought it was for a horror movie, which I love a good horror comedy. And in revisiting it, I haven't watched it since I first saw it. It holds up really well. It's still very funny. It's still pretty scary, but I definitely put this one into funnier rather than scarier. But it's very interesting how Wes Craven manages to make it funny, because the actual like themes and content of the movie are pretty heavy. So he does a great job. Loosely, it's about some robbers who are wanting to get into this house because they think there's some gold coins inside. And when they do find themselves in the house, they, of course, get way more than they bargained for. And And I'm not going to say more than that because this is definitely one of those ones where the less you know, I think the better it is. It's really a fun one. And I really like the visual world created inside of this house. So not going to say more than that. Hopefully I've piqued your interest. If you're a horror person and you have never seen The People Under the Stairs, definitely check that one out. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it here so I can post this and then get to watching Jaws with my kids. Hope you guys will join me. Like I said, it's the perfect 4th of July movie as far as I'm concerned. But maybe you're watching something else for the 4th of July. What is it? Born on the 4th of July? Independence Day? You tell me, what did you guys watch this week or for the 4th? I will be back in a few more days with another episode of my vlog. Until then, stay safe, take care, and thanks so much for watching.